Marie Gillespie. I'm the Educational Counselor for the College of Arts and Sciences. And this is
Angie Mishler. I am the Pre-Professional Programs Advisor in the College of Arts and Sciences.
Okay, and so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a number of different things that we hope will help you in your advising. And so we've broken it down into 3 different areas. We're going to be looking at what you can find on the web, what you can find in SSB, MyFSU, and also My Degree. And I'm going to be assuming that most of you are very computer savvy, correct?
Wrong. Absolutely.
All right. Then I'm going to be assuming that you know how to get to our Ferris main page. All right. So we are off to a really good start. So what we're going to have you do first is I'd like you to either use Mozilla or Internet Explorer and get to the main page. I'm going to have you open up 3 different tabs. And Angie is going to be our floater at first. And if you don't know how to open up the tabs, she's going to help you with opening up multiple tabs on your computer. And what happens with the Ferris websites here in the library is that they open up to the Ferris Library homepage, okay? Mainly because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be toggling in between MyFSU and different sites on the Ferris websites. And this way you don't have to go back and forth between the different places. And so if we already have it open, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. So for one of your websites that you have open, what I would like you to do, please, is I'd like you to pick one of those to be your MyFSU site. Doesn't matter which one it's going to be, whichever one strikes you the best, it's going to make you the happiest. Okay. So we're just going to kind of have that in a holding pattern as we go through into these different sites that we're going to be playing with. And the first thing that we're going to be playing with, and the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the Academic Advising Guide. How many of you are already using the Academic Advising Guide? So you at least recognize and you're aware of where it's at? Yeah, Deb, I know you do. Okay, the Academic Advising Guide is one of these sources and sites that are maintained by the Educational and Career Counseling Center. Now you should have at your desk, you have a nice color copy of different sites and different places about the Academic Advising Guide. So if I go too fast, you have this as a nice handy dandy little thing to look at. Okay, if yours isn't color, I'm sorry, it's because we ran out of our color copies. And I would be more than happy to send you a color PDF so that you have that. Okay, so there's 3 different ways for you to be able to get to the Academic Advising Guide, but we're going to go to the easiest way first. And what I want you to do is with the Academic Advising Guide on one of your main page sites, I want you to go to the very top. I want you to go to Ferris Resources. You're going to see it at the very top right over here. And you're going to see Advising Guide. And on the Advising Guide, you're just going to simply click on it. And I promise that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Advising Guide. So stay in the Academic Advising Guide right now. One of the nice things about the Academic Advising Guide is it's going to give you a wealth of information. It's going to be able to let you know in terms of here's the philosophy that Ferris State University has about academic advising. And I'm sure that many of you are standing here going, or sitting here, I should say, I'm the only one standing, going, really, Ferris has a philosophy about advising. It's looking in terms of what are the responsibilities that students have? What are the responsibilities that faculty members have? Some of your students may come in and they have questions about different things that we call CLEP or about advanced placement. So all this information is contained on the left-hand side where we look at our different section links. Now, what I want you to do, is everybody in the Academic Advising Guide? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to scroll over to where it says University Academic Policies. Go ahead and click on that. Now, one of the things about university academic policies and why it's so important as an advisor is that when it comes to advising, you need to know your policy. Because one of the things that we do that becomes so very, very important as academic advisors is we have to make sure that what we're telling our students is consistent each and every time. Because advising is far more than just helping a student schedule for classes. Sometimes they're going to come to you and they're going to say, I have to be gone for X amount of time. Sometimes they're going to come to you and say that they have to withdraw from the university. Sometimes they want to know about FSUS 100 or whatever is the equivalent in your college. And in fact, if you read the Torch today, there was an editorial about FSUS 100. Students have strong opinions about that, but the policy is out there, okay? And so if you ever want to be able to explain things to students, you can go directly to the policy. If they want to know they're all set and ready to go about graduating with honors, we have the policy right there so that you can explain it. Come on, students do that a lot. And we have the policy right there, and they're all set and ready to go. And so you can tell your student, this is how you graduate with honors. So if you click on any of these, if a student comes to you and they say that they have to medically withdraw, you will have that information right at your fingertips. And that's something that becomes very important to you as an advisor. Or they want to know, how come I wasn't on the dean's list? And this tells you how your students are going to get on the dean's list or how they're going to get their academic transcripts. And so this policy information is very important. It's very vital in your role as an academic advisor. And so I really encourage you to spend a lot of time playing and looking and becoming very familiar with the policies that are going to impact you as an advisor and impact your students. Okay, so questions on that part? I know it's exciting stuff. Everybody loves policy. I know I do. Or not. But what I'd like you to do now is toggle over to your MyFSU portal for just a quick second.
Thanks.
Because you've already signed in, right? Because as you toggle over there, the other place that I want you to see is we have additional policies that aren't just student related. So if you look up, and of course I'm not going to be able to touch this, but up at the very tippy top, where we have Ferris Connect and Learn and Email, and up at the top, this is where our other policies are held. So if you have policies that are important to you, and you want to know what's going on with the Board of Trustees or business policies, or other academic affairs policy letters, or student affair policy letters, or any miscellaneous policies, then you can come to this area to find out more about policy. So we have everything that you could possibly need to know contained right there. Policy is important. Okay? I know, I'll stop, but I like policy. All right, so let's get on to more of the nitty-gritty about what you need to know. So I'm going to go back to the academic advising guide. So I want you to toggle back to the academic advising guide. Over here, the other place that I'd like you to look at is the tools for advising and registration. So if you click on this, with the tools for advising and registration, how many of you have been out on this page? How many of you knew it existed? Really? It's so cool. Look at all this great stuff we have out here. We have things like the GPA calculator. Let's go ahead and click on that real fast. Because you know your students sometimes want to know, and they come into you and they give you that very, very sad story in terms of, I don't know how I'm going to do in class. You know, I don't know what I can do to make my semester better. I don't know how I'm going to be successful. Or, gee whiz, if I get an F in this class, what's going to happen to my GPA? And one of the really nice parts is if you use this GPA calculator, you can help your student, or you can show your student how to get here so that they can calculate their way and figure out what's going to happen to them this particular semester. So not only can we figure out what their desired semester is going to be, But we can more or less give them a sense of, okay, so you have a 0.0 GPA with 17 credits. What will happen if you do really well this semester? And you can play around with that to a certain extent. Another area that is really nice to use, if you are advising students who take summer classes, I always like to show students the summer credit load comparison. This is really nice for students who are thinking that they're going to be able to come in and they want to take maybe 12 credits for summer. Well, you know, when I start showing them for a 4-week class, that if they're in 4 credits for 4 weeks, that's comparable to 15 credits during a regular semester. Okay, so when you start talking to students in terms of what kind of load are you planning on taking during this point in time, one of the nice parts is being able to look at this. Okay, and so when you have a student, if you want to be able to have that realistic discussion with them, this summer load comparison chart is very, very good to be able to use. Okay? Other information that goes through, there's a time management calculator. I won't make you go through it, but for students who come to you and they say, you know, I just don't have enough hours in the day, this will let them, well, maybe you do need to do this. How many of you have enough hours in the day right now?
None. That's why I said maybe we need to do this.
Yeah, maybe you do need to do it. Why don't you go ahead and take a couple of seconds to go ahead and do it. And then you can kind of get a sense of what you're doing with your time.
Okay, how'd you get to it?
Right here, time management calculator. Yeah. Start looking at that, and then you can help those students figure out exactly what it is that they need to be doing. I know, you start seeing those numbers, and you're going, wow, look at this.
Do you don't have Facebook on?
No, we should. We should update it just a tad bit.
That's a great suggestion.
That is an excellent suggestion.
According to us, I do have 18 hours.
So there's a couple other quick areas on the advising guide that I do want to show you before we move over to my FSU. The other two that are important are if your student says that he or she wants to change their program of study, we have the college referral and program change contact information for all of the colleges. So if they say, I no longer want to be in whatever program they happen to be studying, then you can click on these and you'll know where to send the student to, if they already know where they want to go, okay? So for instance, in education and human services, all education majors, early childhood, criminal justice, and recreation, leisure, services, and wellness all go to Mary Klein. And then TV and digital media production go to Fred Wyman. Okay, so easy enough. In other colleges, it's going to be different. Each one is going to have somebody different. And so you'll know who that contact person should be and that particular phone number. And then again, it has the counseling, academic support services, special population, and transfer course equivalencies. Now, how many of you are working with transfer students? And you love it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's a piece of cake. And Deb, we have in one of our advising seminars, it's going to be about transfer students.
Yes, I believe it's the January workshop.
Okay, in our January workshop, we're having, I know this is our commercial, January workshop is all about transfer students. And when we talk about advising our graduation requirements in February, we're also going to be looking at the transfer requirements as well. But this is just a nice handy way for you to know this is where you can find more information about transfer requirements. Okay.
Andrew,
Yes.
is there anything on international
That would be under special populations with the International Center. And I know that they're working on building their website so that they have more information about the international students. Okay, so let's toggle over to My FSU. Okay, going over to the Faculty Services tab. And you also have a How to Navigate My FSU book. Because in the College of Arts and Sciences, we're big on how-to manuals. Part of the problem is their educational counselor really needs to have something that she can follow along with. It really helps her a lot. And so what you have is a how-to in terms of what are going to be those important sorts of things that you have to look at. Now, for many of you, I'm going to make the assumption that you know how to find your advisees. Correct? Yes. Okay. I'm hearing a yes consensus. Okay. So I don't even need to go that simplistic. So some of the things, though, that become the most important when we start looking at, oh, I jumped over registration academic guide. I'll come back to that. When we start looking at that, is what I'd like you to do is in your registration, in your MyFSU, I want you to think of one of your advisees or grab one from your advisee list. I am going to use my daughter, who has already given me permission to use her, as I asked her this morning, which is what happens when. And so, one of the first places when you have an advising session with a student, the first place that you need to go, really honestly, truly, is to the comments section. Okay? Mainly because in the comments section, one of the things that you need to know is what is going on with this particular student. First and foremost, Megan has given me permission to look at all of her, has given me FERPA permission. So for instance, if her advisor were here, or I were talking with her advisor, I would be able to have that conversation with her advisor. All right, I wouldn't, because that would be rude, but I could have that conversation. But if there were deviations, you know, there were program changes and different sorts of program changes and moving around and the different sorts of things, and I kind of get a history in terms of what Megan has been doing and what kinds of deviations have been happening in terms of it. So what the comments section does is it gives you an idea of what is happening with this particular student. And so when you are working with this student, you want to have an idea of what is occurring. So comments is always a very good place to go. It's going to give you an idea of prerequisites. It's going to give you an idea of what is happening. And what will happen,
I do.
for instance, if I were going to put a comment in,
Okay.
I could enter a comment in.
Okay.
Student is preparing for graduation. Needs to come in for graduation clearance.
But the instructor then can.
Now I could upload this because it's
Right
true.
there in the box.
She's a student not only in the College of Education and Human Services, but also a student in College of Arts and Sciences. Okay, so I could upload it in both. And all I have to do is I have to hit this add comment. It's there. As our educational counselor, I can do it. It says, tells the date. It also says who the user is. And you need to make sure that you are very, she's going to be surprised when her advisor looks at this, but what's going to end up happening is that this is out there for anybody who has advising capabilities to see now, okay? And it becomes a prompt. And you have to be aware that this is not private communication, that anybody with our capabilities can see this. So you need to make sure that you are aware that this is FOIA-able and subpoena-able. And you want to make sure that the types of information that you put out there is the type of information that you want to be seen by a wide audience. These are not meant for personal advising notes. All right, those are a totally separate document. This should just be very dry, should be very, very brief. And if you notice that that isn't very dry and very, very brief, you need to speak with your educational counselor, because we also have the capabilities to remove this, things that are inappropriate, or to talk with the person who did put that sort of information up there. Okay? The other areas, are you using unofficial transcripts quite a bit when you're in your advising sessions with students? Okay, so that's a go-to place that you're using quite a bit. Advisee registration status. Okay. Advisee registration status, basically what this is going to tell you is this is going to tell you what the academic programs are for this particular student. It's going to tell you the level, it's going to tell you the college, the major, the campus, the class, how many earned hours the student has, but it's also going to tell you who the academic advisors are. It's going to let you know who the primary is, who the minor advisor is, who the secondary advisor is. It's also going to let me know when that student is allowed to register. It's going to let me know whether or not that student has any holds. It's going to let me know whether or not that student is in good standing and whether or not that student is active. It gives me all the information I need to know about that student in one quick step. And if I find there's any kind of glitches about this student, then I know that when I have that conversation or that discussion with that student, there's something that I need to do about that. Okay? So that's general student information. Holds, advisors, add, remove. You're comfortable with those? Adding, removing them, adding them, yes?
No.
I heard a no.
How do you remove them?
Okay, so if you go to, it says holds, advisors, add, remove.
Sorry.
Okay, so if I want to put on a hold, you can add a hold. See advisor.
Mother hold.
Huh?
Mother hold.
Mother hold. Yeah, dean's office. And then I put on that ad. Boy, isn't she going to be surprised. And then that's going to impact her registration. Okay? It also says that I put it on, and this is the reason why there is that registration hold. Okay? And so that's going to prevent her from being able to register on that. If I go back to the general student information, that screen that we were just at, oops, sorry. If I go back to the advisee registration status, look what I've just done to her. I've just given her holds. So now she's not permitted to register because I've just given her holds. Okay? When I remove that hold, which I better do right now, yes, I was playing with your stuff. Then I just come up simply and I hit remove and it's done. Advisors can only touch advising holds, and those are advising holds from your own college. You're not allowed to touch other colleges' advising holds. Yeah.
70 minutes.
So, or money holds, or health holds. They will find you because they track you.
I'm not sure.
They track you every time we touch something and every time we remove something.
I'm not sure.
Okay. The question was whether or not you put disturbing behavior into comments because of Virginia Tech, and I said absolutely not. You contact your educational counselor. No, that is.
I did tell that to a large group of us. So
We will. I'll clarify that. Thank you. Yes. No. No. That's not good. Okay. Registration audit trail also is an area. Whoops. Let me make sure it's term specific. Registration audit trail will allow you to know exactly what a student has been doing. Oops. And what that student has been doing when they have been registering, when I have a student who comes in and the student is telling me that he or she did something, I can look and I can go, okay, this user did this user did that. You can see I was helping. And this is how the user was adding or deleting, and when the record was deleted and they were dropping and adding classes. And you can go through and you can see every time they did something and they were adding in record audit trail.
And I want to interject something on this. This is great, especially when you meet with your advisee, you tell them exactly what classes to take, you know that they went and registered, and then the next time you pull up their stuff, all of a sudden they have a totally different set of classes. Because you can see the student went in 2 weeks after you met with them, dropped everything and picked totally different things, and it trails it right back to them. So you didn't fail as an advisor, they chose to
Yes.
use the system.
When we start looking in terms of registration history, what this is going to do is this is the only place where you can find midterms and final grades. Well, you can find the final grades on the unofficial transcript, but if you're looking for midterm grades, you have to go to registration history. Okay? Transfer credit articulation, the only one she has is advanced placement. Transfer credit, you're going to have if a student has transferred in, if a student has AP, if a student meets the math requirement, if a student has CLEP, if a student has International Baccalaureate, if a student has, I think I hit them all. That'll show up on your transfer articulation.
Here.
And it will show you, this was the class that came in, and it shows you what the FSU equivalent happens to be. And then you can kind of look to see what it is. It also appears on the unofficial transcript. And then if you want to see the information that has been scanned in, we have what are called extender documents, and this is at the very bottom. How many of you are using your extenders documents? Okay, I see one. All right, so if a student says, my transcript hasn't come in yet, or I processed this 4-part form, or I withdrew from this class, admissions and records, they scan everything into Extender, okay? And they hold everything there. They're not keeping paper files. So if you go to, and you want to see their high school transcript to see how well they did, or you want to see departmental correspondence, or you want to see admissions, I think she applied when it was a paper app, you can click there and you can see all of this information, and you can track whether it's admissions information or you can track whether it's records office information. So every time they do something, you can track it, you can see it. It takes a few minutes for it to come up, and you can see that she withdrew from a class. All right, and so you always have it here, okay, so that you can see it. So you don't have to keep everything in paper. It does. There is a time lag, though. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so that's SSB, or MyFSU.
With you guys with MyFSU, and also now we're going into My Degree. How many have used the new My Degree tool? Okay.
Couple.
How many of you have used the new My Degree tool within the last week? All right, then I'm going to show you all some new things. A week ago today, actually, they put in a new enhancement to My Degree. So some of the things that maybe you were doing in the former one have been enhanced and have more details to them now. We are catching a few bugs here or there, but if you do catch bugs or you see something that's not working like it used to work, let your educational counselor know in your college, because we actually have a My Degree implementation team that can help address those things. The other thing is that it's only as good as what we put into it. So we're still working on polishing this tool. We have a lot of scripting that has to happen in the background because we're taking your guys' check sheets. So if you've changed a program within the last year and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't coincide with what's in there. Again, take that to your educational counselor so then we can get it scripted appropriately. This tool is amazing. I use it with every single one of my advisees because if they ever leave me, there will be a paper trail, actually an electronic trail that can go to their new advisor and they can see everything I've done with this student over the last 2 or 3 or 4 semesters, okay? To get into My Degree, hopefully you guys are all still logged in to My FSU, but it's been an hour probably since you did it, so you might want to re-log in. On your academic services area, hopefully all of you have the advisor dashboard over here, and you guys were working in it just recently. Down at the bottom, about the 7th one, did I guess right? Yeah, about the 7th from the bottom, it says My Degree for Students. If you click on that, you're going to have to pick the term, and then you're going to need an advisee name. So does everybody remember who you were originally working with?
No.
If you know an advisee name, go ahead and put it in. I've got permission from this one student. So if you do not have advisees and you want to see what I'm going to be seeing on your personal screens, use the last name Kellis, Kellis. First name is Chris. Now, if there was more than one, you would have multiples here, but there's only one, so you can go ahead and hit submit. Now, here's where it could get tricky. If you've never used My Degree before, you have to realize your pop-up blocker has to be turned off. So I'm sure this is going to bark at me, but maybe not. Great, mine works, but Anne-Marie's going to walk around. If you're getting a blank screen and it says done, your pop-up blocker is not allowing you to get into My Degree. Okay, because this is a brand new system, anybody that started school fall of 2010 will have an automatic live audit in here. That means that when you pull them up, all the classes that they have taken will show up on their check sheet. If you're working with an advisee that started they're a junior or they're a senior right now, so they started in 09 or 08, they do not have the check sheets loaded from back in that day, so you're going to have to run what is called a what if you want to see what they have left in their curriculum, okay? So how many of you are working with brand new freshmen? They're the easiest ones because this is automatic. You pull them up, it's going to pull them onto the right sheet based on their program. You guys do have a little My Degree booklet. Mine is a bigger version of it, but you have this, so if I go through things too quick, you're going to have a refresher to be able to go back and look at it. But you can see with Mr. Kellis here, I'm his advisor. Here's his current GPA, and he's a pre-mort student, so these are the pre-mort classes. Little green checkbox means it's taken care of, he's taken a class. See his English competency right here? If they have AP credits, this is going to pull it straight from Banner and show you that it's there. He also, because he's going to Wayne State and they have additional classes that aren't on the front of the check sheet to be scripted in, he has choices for some cultural enrichment and to meet Wayne State's Gen Ed. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see additional courses listed here that he took. So if you've got students that have to do math ladders to get to the required math for your curriculum, the required math is going to show up in the top Gen Ed block. The classes they took prior to that will probably be down towards the bottom. So in every section, it's going to total up their credit hours. Okay? Now, how many of you often get students coming in and saying, I want to change my major, I don't know what I want to change it to, but I just know I need to change it. What's the quickest one for me to get out of here? Anybody ever have those conversations? Or I think I'm going to switch to a different major within the same college, or want to look at something from a different college. I want you guys to know that you can actually run a what if versus every degree here at the university. Left-hand side, we're on the worksheet tab here. See where it says what if? Please click on that. If you know what major that they're wanting to go for example, I'm going to use biology because there's a lot of different options in there. He's currently in an Associates of Science. I am going to go down and pick a Bachelor of Science because I know that's the degree they get for biology. What it's going to do is it's going to pull up all the majors that are BSs on campus. And he doesn't want to work with dead people anymore, so he wants to work with animals. He's going to do pre-vet. See how it loads the major over here? He wants to do pre-vet, but he also wants to speak Spanish. He wants to do a minor in Spanish. I'll go French just because it's up on the alpha list earlier. You can run this two ways. This is called a what if audit. You can either click on process what if, and what it's going to do, it's going to pull it up in that regular format that you have. But if you wanted to save this example and not have to keep running it, you can process it as a save as PDF. And I do this a lot because what I'll do is I'll print it out and I'll hand it to the student, point in time. Hey, this is the major you're looking at. This is how the classes you've currently taken apply to it. And if you do it as the PDF link, it prints a lot nicer and a lot cleaner and a lot less paper. If a student has a jump drive and they don't want to do paper, you actually can just plug it into your computer and do save as, name it, and hand it to the student electronically because this is a PDF. I have no clue what this is saying, but so still has me listed as the advisor, has all his information, has his overall GPA, but you see over on the right-hand side where it now says his major is biology and with a minor in French. It's pulling all of the required courses for that curriculum here. It's taking what he has taken, applying it to this check sheet.
Will this work for a brand new student just coming in?
Just coming in, yep, because if you look on here, see where I have for social awareness? Let's say he was brand new and he's in his first semester. It's pulling what classes they're currently in for the semester, and they put the grade as IP for in progress. Okay. One other thing, if you go back to the worksheet tab, if you've got a student and you just want to see what they took semester to semester without going and hunting and searching, if you click on class history, it's going to pop you up a PDF as of this day, as of this time, same information on the top, but it's going to list all the classes and the grades and the credits earned that they've accomplished from the time they started to present time. I use this a lot if you ever have to do SAP verification, athletic verification. Sometimes it's just easier to have it all in one spot so you can look at everything. Everybody feel comfortable with the first worksheet page? One other thing I'm going to point out up here, if you know that you're working with a transfer student or somebody that has transfer credit, or maybe they just got their AP English scores sent in, but you don't see it on the system, but you know that they have them because you've seen it in banner on the transcript page, but it got entered that day. All of you have this little refresh circle at the top. So I do this often. I'll have a student in my office, they're like, but I took classes this summer and why aren't they here? I'll call down to Barb Hample in the dean's office, have her enter the transcript articulation, and I actually can hit this refresh button, and it'll say, hey, this was refreshed at 1 a.m. this morning, are you sure you want to refresh it? And I said yes, because I know that there's new information out on Banner that's not in this upload. They upload once a day, early morning, but if you know something has just been accomplished that morning, you can actually refresh it, and it'll pull all that information to you. Okay. Next step that I utilize a lot, and I think you as advisors can. How many of you have programs that are pretty sequential and you know exactly if they're in these classes this semester, they need to take these classes next semester, and you want to help build their plan for each semester? Okay. The planner is great. Now, take it from me because I'm meeting with a lot of first-time students. My first advising meeting with them is always the longest because the students can do this. You could tell all of your students, go out to My Degree. Set up what you perceive your class plan should be for the next 2 semesters. Then when they come in and meet with you, you can look at what they said, then you can correct them, because they might have accidentally jumped a class or they didn't know they didn't have the prerequisite. And you can build the plan together, you can save it, you can lock it, then they can't tweak it on you, and then you can plan out the next couple semesters so they know ahead of time. So let's go into the planner mode here. Does everybody have a student up there that you might be working with here in the next couple weeks? One of the things that you have to do if you're going to do the deliverables at the end is actually print out a plan that you've created, so I'm helping you with your homework. If it's a brand new student, your screen's going to look like this, and up at the top you see where it says add new plan. This side over here should be blank. Because I've worked in a student, it isn't, but I'm going to load a new plan site over here. One thing you need to know about this screen, this left-hand side is your check sheet again. So you can see what they have left to take to help guide you. This right-hand side is where you can build your plan. This middle bar, you can pull it over so you can see the whole screen. What I always do with my students, I say, hey, list your major. So this student is a pre-mort. I use the 4-digit code because that's just my preference. They have to put a descriptor in. So pre-mort, and he wants to go to mort school for fall of 2012, so I put 2012 completion, just so they know why this planner is being built and what our goal is. The next thing you have to do is you have to pick their catalog year, because that drives what sheet it's pulled against. So if you recently changed your curriculum and they're a brand new freshman for 2011, you want to have the 2011 year. But if they were a 2010, pick the oldest year you can, but from this year on out, you'll be able to pick the appropriate year for them, okay? So I'm going to pick the 2011-12 year for him. Then I'm going to scroll down. This is set up in 3 columns. Now, when I first started doing this, I made the mistake of assuming that all students go spring, or goes fall, spring, fall, spring, because all the students always say, I'm not going to take summer. And then what happens is after you've already put 3 years worth of plan work in there, you realize the student comes in, I'm going to take summer classes. And if you've got it built that way, back to back, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, you have to move every single semester back 1 block to be able to add it. So my recommendation for you would be, first column is always fall. I realize they're already in classes, so you're not going to fill in the fall, okay? Second column, always keep it as spring because it's universal for you. Third column, always put it as summer. Even if they don't take classes, you can leave it blank, but always have that space in there because you cannot put an older term in front or an older term behind a newer term because the system will bark at you. It's got a safe built in there, okay? So you can go ahead, why don't you do that and save the plan. I just learned something yesterday that I didn't know. I was typing things in, so for this student, for spring term, we were talking, I know he needed to take English. I'm in this all the time, so I know the 4-digit code, the 3-digit number, and how many credit hours they are. But if you don't know it because you're not familiar with your curriculum as much, you can actually go over here, see what they have left to take. So he needs to take English 150. You can highlight it. You can right-click and copy it, or however you like to copy. And then you can go over here and you can actually paste it there, so then you know it's accurate. Here's the thing with this system. It pulls right from Banner. So if you don't have it written exactly right, it's going to bark at you and it's going to give you an arrow saying you have an issue, this doesn't work, because the computer can only recognize legitimate codes. So I know he needs to take English and it's 3 credit hours. I'm going to tell him he needs to take math 130, and I'm just going to do this for time's sake, and I'm going to punch a couple other classes in here. And he's going to take sociology 121 for 3 credit hours. I'm going to save this again. I save frequently because nothing is worse than putting 3 years in and then something with the new upgrade, it's been a little quirky on its save mode where I've lost things, so I save often. The other thing you'll see is it automatically totals up how many credit hours they're doing for the semester. So, more information on this classes. This is a new enhancement. We just found this yesterday also. If the student's like, well, I don't know what time the classes are, I don't know what this class really is all about, if you click here, it's going to pop you up a window. It's going to give you the catalog description of the class. It's going to tell you the prerequisites. It's going to tell you how often it's offered. It's going to give you what classes are offered for spring. Okay. Times, dates, CRNs. So students can use this to actually start pre-planning, and this is driven live from the banner system. So on the 2nd of November, a student can go on their planner, they can click on it, and they can see how many seats are left in each of the classes that are prescribed for them to take. I've got some students that have to register on the first day because they're honors. So what we did is we printed this out, handed it to them, so they can start making their mock schedules so they can have 50 million different versions already set up for when they want to go register. Okay? And there's a print button up here. So, viewing the plan, you guys feeling a little comfortable with creating the plan? Let's take the next 5 minutes for you to actually build a semester for one of your students. And then that way, if you're having issues, we can address that and come around and help you fix that. Okay? So let's take from 10 after to 15 after to work on a semester for one of your students so you can make sure the tool is functioning right for you. I know you get frustrated when you try to do your planner and you can't get it to save. If you use a dash, and then you can type anything you need it to after it. So if you know that they need to take social awareness 200 level, you can go dash, I always, social aware 200 plus. If you go to hit save, it'll save it. If you know it's going to be 3 credit hours, you put 3 credit hours on there and save.
That's on page 13 of it.
Yep, on page 13 of the Advisor My Degree manual. The other thing is that if you know that they have to take the 300 level English, but you don't want to dictate to them which specific English to take because there may be 3 options depending on your degree, you could put ENGL 3 and then the @ sign for 3 credit hours, and then if you hit save, that will go in that area. Because again, those are the 2 wild cards that you can use because this system is connected to the banner system. So what it's doing is it's taking what you wrote, checking onto the banner system, making sure it's a legitimate class. How many of you might have a student that wants to take a class in the summer elsewhere? At GRCC, you all were shown where to go get equivalencies so they know how it transfers back. So I've done this before with students that, okay, summer term, you're going to go do a guest student somewhere. So I'll put a dash, GRCC, I know he wants to take math 135 there. And it's their numbers, not our numbers, because you see it's a 2-digit indicator versus a 4. And it's for 3 credit hours. I can even help them put that stuff in there so then you guys have a trail of it. And the student knows you double check that that's transferring right. As long as they get a C or higher, it'll come in.
So the dash at the beginning
or the @ sign at the end, as long as you have the right 4-digit code. Okay? All right. What we're going to do now is what I find easier for... How many of you have had discussions with students and they have important information that they have to be able to view on their plan that's semester specific? Like for me, I work with pre-pharmacy students and they have to take their PCAT either in the summer between their freshman and sophomore year or in September of their freshman and sophomore year. It's just something that they need to know. Some of you, maybe for CJ, they have to get their background check done this term, but it's not something that you can really put in the planner. What you can do though is that there's a notes mode here, and what it will do in notes mode will give you the terms and it'll give you a note box and you can type anything you need to in there, and this is something the student can view, print off, have. So if you've got things that every semester the students need to know, you can put it there. Because how many of you get the student coming back to you saying, I didn't know I needed to do that, even though you talked about it in the office? Okay. The other thing is, and I'm going to start accelerating a little bit just because we got 10 minutes left. You guys are currently in edit mode. Sometimes edit mode is clunky, it spreads way long, you can't see it real well. If you go into view mode, it makes it more, hold on. Let me get into my pre-made plan. I've got it in calendar mode in view mode. See how much nicer and cleaner it is and you can see everything? And this is the area that I print from. Just keep in mind, if you've only got 2 or 3 semesters on it, it's going to print you 2 pages. So you can tell it just print page 1 if you are like me and you don't want to kill a bunch of extra trees. The other thing that I do with my students that I think would be important for you as advisors is using the notes section on here, because again, if a student transitions from one advisor to another, this is how I track the date and time that they came in and met with me. And if we've got everything written in their planner, you can see with Chris on the 11th, which was Tuesday, we sat down, we met, and I used one of the predefined notes.
Oh, look at that.
I added a note, and there's a list of predefined notes that are pretty basic that you as advisors can just click and hit save. And what it's going to do is put your name and your number and the date on there. Students often come in and say, hey, they want to look at a different career path. Sometimes I'd say, okay, student and advisor discuss student's career path. You can put additional notes in this area. So for example, the other day I met with a young lady. She's interested in nursing, but she's not ready to give up her hopes and dreams of being a pharmacist, and that's okay. I put in there, take the classes prescribed in your planner, gave student information from the College of Allied Health Sciences on how to go about doing a program change. Just so that way, the next time I meet with the student, we can go back and say, hey, you talked about nursing last time. Did you get over there to meet with the advisors over there? And then you have that trail. The other thing is you can delete notes and you can modify notes if you have something pre-done on there. So if I wanted to modify Chris's note, see with Chris's I put on there, told to do the courses in the planner. He was also told to call Wayne State regarding the foreign culture requirement. So that's where you can add things. The nice thing about this is when you guys do the worksheet, if you process new after you do a note, it's going to trail all notes on the very bottom. So you can have a record of all of your advising sessions if you put notes in there, so you don't have to be recreating the wheel all the time. Okay? And that being said, there's a lot more that you can do with this. We wanted to give you basics to be able to utilize the tool. If you want more advanced things, or certain colleges, for example, technology is using this tool to do exceptions. You actually can force completion of degrees. For example, I had a young lady that took Communication 105 as a pre-pharm student. She now wants to complete her bachelor's degree in biology. We got the exception from the biology department because she took it pre-being a biology major, that she can put that in for 121, which is a requirement of that program. We could actually force it to use 105 in that place. But you need to talk with your college, and if you do a forced exception on one curriculum plan, it does not automatically transfer over if they changed majors. So just because you gave them permission in your college doesn't mean that they're going to be able to go to nursing, and if nursing requires public speaking, they have to go through the process again to get exceptions, and it's dependent on each college's procedures and policies on if you utilize this tool or if you have a paper process yet to get exceptions. Okay? Any questions on my degree? All right.
And if you have any questions at all about today's session, or you want to have more information, please make sure that you get a hold of Angie or I, or if you look at these deliverables, because I made them hard, darn it, make sure you get a hold of us as well, because, you know, we like to help people.